Kale had 3 days to disappear before Nightfang Pack hunted him down for breach of contract. 3 days to cross enemy territory, reach the sanctuary city, and vanish before his former mate dragged him back to die slowly from the sickness eating through his wolf. He was already a dead man, walking weak, feverish, barely able to shift anymore. Then he heard the crying. A child's voice, high and desperate, coming from somewhere in the thickening snow. Kale's first thought was, not my problem, keep walking. His second thought, the one that made him stop against every survival instinct screaming in his head, was, what kind of monster leaves a kid out here in a blizzard? The same kind that left you, his wolf whispered weakly. Kyle changed direction. This was either the stupidest or the bravest decision of his pathetic life. Probably stupid. But he was committed now. If you believe some decisions are worth everything, even when the world says to walk away, hit that like button right now. Because what Kale does next will either save 2 lives or destroy them both. And you need to see which one happens. Chapter 1. The Omega's Last Chance. The first thing Kale learned about dying was that it came in increments. First, the fever that wouldn't break, then the weakness that made shifting agony, then the healer's quiet words. 6 months, maybe less. Your wolf is fading, and when it goes, you go with it. Then his mate, former mate, standing beside Alpha Thornridge and saying nothing while the Pack Council voted to expel him. Damaged goods, barren, useless. Banishment wasn't mercy. It was a delayed execution. But Kale had 3 days before the bond debt came due. 3 days before Nightfang Pack sent hunters to drag him back for breach of Omega contract. Which was really just code for, you failed to give us pups, so now you owe us your life. He'd been walking for 6 hours through the kind of early winter storm that made wolves reconsider their life choices. His backpack held 2 days of food, a threadbare coat, and a burning resentment that did absolutely nothing to keep him warm. This is fine, Kale muttered, his breath fogging. Just a brisk walk to certain death. Very normal, very healthy. The wind howled in response, which felt unnecessarily judgmental. His wolf stirred weakly inside him. We should shift, warmer. We'd last maybe 10 minutes before collapsing, Kale thought back. Save your strength. For what? Dying slower? Fair point. That's when he heard it. Crying. A child's voice, muffled by snow and wind but unmistakably desperate. Kale froze mid-step. You've got to be kidding me. The universe, as usual, offered no response. He should keep walking. He had maybe 48 hours before his body gave out completely, before the fever spiked high enough to kill him. He didn't have time for detours. Didn't have energy for heroics. But the crying continued, and Kale found himself pushing through deeper snow toward the sound, cursing himself with every step. He found the child huddled against a snow-buried log. Small, maybe 4 or 5 years old, shaking so violently his teeth chattered. Underfed, hypothermic, and blind. Kale knew immediately the way the child's eyes didn't track movement, the way his head turned toward sounds instead of sights. The milky white film over both irises that marked him as sightless from birth. A blind pup, alone in a blizzard. Hey, Kale said softly, approaching slowly. Hey, sweetheart. What are you doing out here? The child's head snapped toward his voice. His clouded eyes were huge with terror. Who's there? My name's Kale. I'm not going to hurt you. Kale dropped to his knees despite the snow soaking through immediately. What's your name? Eli. The child Eli tried to scramble backward and immediately cried out when his hand hit something sharp hidden in the snow. Easy, easy. Kale pulled off his gloves and carefully examined Eli's hand. Cut, but not deep. He wrapped it with a strip torn from his shirt. There, better? Eli nodded, still shaking. Up close, Kale could see the kid had been crying for a long time. His face was raw and red, his small fingers were blue with cold. Where's your pack, Eli? Where are your parents? Gone. Eli's voice broke. They left me. Kale's blood went cold, and it had nothing to do with the temperature. They left you? Out here? In a storm? Eli nodded miserably. Alpha Thornridge said, blind wolves weaken the pack. Said I'd never be a real wolf. That I'd just slow everyone down and eat food someone strong could have. His voice dropped to a whisper. They said it was kinder to let the cold take me quick than watch me suffer being useless. Rage immediate, incandescent, flooded through Cale. Thornridge. The same alpha who'd banished him. The same pack that decided damaged wolves were disposable. They left you to freeze to death? Cale's voice came out sharper than intended. I'm sorry, Eli whimpered. I'm sorry I'm broken. Stop. Cale grabbed the kid's shoulders gently. Listen to me very carefully, Eli. You are not broken, you're not useless, and you are absolutely not freezing to death today. Do you hear me? Eli stared in his general direction with those clouded eyes. You're not leaving me. Not a chance. You're dying, his wolf reminded him weakly. Saving him kills us faster. Then we die doing something that matters, Cale shot back. He shrugged off his backpack and pulled out his emergency thermal blanket, the only thing between him and hypothermia tonight. He wrapped it around Eli's small body. Can you walk? Cale asked. Eli tried to stand and immediately stumbled. His legs weren't working right, too cold, too weak, too scared. Cale made a decision that was either incredibly brave or phenomenally stupid. Probably stupid, but he was committed now. All right, Eli, here's the plan. I'm going to carry you to the nearest pack. It's going to be cold and uncomfortable, but I promise I'm not putting you down until we're somewhere safe. Deal? You're going to carry me? Eli's voice was incredulous. But everyone says I'm too heavy, that I'm a burden. Everyone is an idiot. Cale shifted his backpack to his front and crouched with his back to Eli. Climb on, hold tight. Eli hesitated only a moment before his small arms wrapped around Cale's neck, his legs around Cale's waist. He was lighter than expected. Way too light for a pup his age. Severely malnourished. Cale stood slowly, his legs protesting immediately. His fever spiked. His wolf whimpered. This was going to be brutal. Okay, Cale said, starting to walk northeast toward what he hoped was still neutral territory. Let's go find somewhere warm. Thank you, Eli whispered against his shoulder. Thank you for not leaving me. Cale's throat tightened. Thank me when we're not hypothermic. The storm seemed determined to kill them both. Wind whipped snow into Cale's face, stinging his eyes. His legs burned with exertion. The fever was making everything slightly unreal, like walking through a dream where the ground kept shifting. But he kept walking, because the alternative was unthinkable. Tell me about yourself, Eli, Cale said, partly to keep the kid conscious and partly to distract himself from the fact that his hands were going numb. What do you like? What makes you happy? I like listening to stories, Eli said, his voice muffled. About heroes and adventures. My mother used to tell them before He stopped. Before she decided blind pups weren't worth keeping. Cale's voice was harsher than intended. Yeah. Eli was quiet for a moment. Are you really taking me to another pack? What if they turn me away too? Then we keep walking until we find someone who isn't a complete waste of oxygen. But what if no one wants a blind pup? Then I'll figure something else out. Cale adjusted his grip as Eli started slipping. Your blindness doesn't make you unwanted, Eli. It makes you different. And different isn't bad. That's not what Alpha Thornridge said. Alpha Thornridge is wrong, and also a colossal piece of Cale caught himself. He's wrong. About you. About a lot of things. They walked in silence. Cale's fever climbed. His vision blurred at the edges. He stumbled twice, barely catching himself before they both went down. Are you okay? Eli asked quietly. Fine. Just tired. You're sick. I can smell it. Perceptive kid. Little bit. But I'm tougher than I look. That's a lie. My mom used to lie like that too. Before. Cale wanted to argue but didn't have the energy. Instead, he focused on putting one foot in front of the other. Northeast. Keep going northeast. 2 hours later, or maybe 3, time was getting weird. Eli went worryingly quiet. Eli. You still with me? Barely a sound. Hey. No falling asleep. I need you to stay awake. Panic spiked through Cale's fever haze. Tell me about those stories you like. What's your favorite? The one about the Omega, who saved the pack. Yeah? How's it go? Don't remember. So cold. Cale's heart hammered. Eli was going hypothermic. They needed shelter now. Through the driving snow, Cale spotted something, a darker shadow that might be rocks or might be a hallucination. Only one way to find out. He changed direction, pushing toward the shadow. His legs gave out once, sending them crashing into snow. He forced himself back up, adjusted Eli, kept going. The shadow became a rocky overhang, not a proper cave, but enough shelter from the worst of the wind. Cale stumbled under it, and carefully lowered Eli to the ground. The kid was pale. Too pale. Barely shivering anymore, which was bad. Okay, we're okay," Cale muttered, more to himself than Eli. His hands shook as he got a small fire going, thanked the goddess for waterproof matches, and wrapped Eli in every piece of fabric he had, including his own coat. Then he pulled the kid close, using body heat he didn't really have to spare. "Stay with me, Eli. Come on, kid, don't give up now." Eli's clouded eyes fluttered open. "You're cold. You gave me your coat. I'm fine. Omegas are basically furnaces." Complete lie. Cale was freezing and burning up simultaneously. "You're a bad liar," Eli mumbled, but he pressed closer. "Yeah. It's one of my many character flaws. Along with being stubborn and making terrible life choices." Cale fed another stick to the fire. "But at least I'm consistent." "Why are you helping me?" Eli asked quietly. "You don't even know me. Because you're a kid who deserves better than dying alone in the snow. But you're dying too. I can smell the sickness in you. Too perceptive. Maybe. But that's not your problem. It is if you die trying to save me." Cale didn't have a good answer for that. So instead he held Eli tighter and prayed the storm would break by morning. They had maybe 3 miles left to neutral territory. If his body held out that long. If Night Fang Pack hunters didn't find them first. If the fever didn't spike high enough to kill him before dawn. Too many ifs. But looking down at Eli's small face, peaceful now in exhausted sleep, Cale couldn't bring himself to regret this choice. Some things were worth freezing for, even if it killed you. Chapter 2. The Weight of Eyes That Can't See. The storm broke just before dawn, but Cale barely noticed. He'd managed maybe an hour of fitful sleep, jerking awake every time Eli shifted or the fire needed tending. His whole body ached. The fever had climbed higher during the night, making everything slightly disconnected, like he was piloting his body from somewhere far away. But they were alive. That counted for something. "Eli." "Hey, Eli." Cale gently shook the kid's shoulder. "We need to move." Eli's eyes opened slowly, those clouded irises catching the weak morning light. "I had a dream you were real." "Surprise. I'm real and we're still in a frozen hellscape." Cale forced himself to stand, his legs screaming in protest. "But the good news is, the storm stopped. The bad news is we still have miles to go." "How many miles?" 3, maybe 4 to the neutral zone. Then we find a pack that isn't run by psychopaths." Cale rationed out some dried meat, softened slightly by the fire, and they shared what little water remained in his canteen. It wasn't much, but it was something. "Ready?" Cale asked, crouching for Eli to climb on his back. "You don't have to carry me the whole way," Eli said quietly. "I could try to walk some." "Walk through waist-deep snow when you can't see where you're stepping?" "I don't think so." Cale gestured to his back. "Besides, I've already carried you this far. What's a few more miles?" "I'm committed to this terrible decision." Eli climbed on, his small arms wrapping around Cale's neck. "You're sick. You shouldn't be carrying anyone." "Probably not. But here we are." Cale stood with a groan he tried to pass off as a stretch. His vision swam. The fever was definitely worse. "We're not going to make it," his wolf whispered weakly. "We don't have a choice," Cale thought back. "We make it or we die trying." That's not inspiring. It's honest. The landscape looked different in daylight, endless white broken occasionally by skeletal trees. Beautiful in a hostile, trying to murder you kind of way. Cale checked his internal compass and started walking northeast. 3 miles. They could make that. Probably. Hopefully. "What's it look like?" Eli asked after they'd been walking maybe 20 minutes. "What's what look like?" "Everything. The snow, the trees, the sky." Eli's voice was small. "I've never seen any of it." Cale's chest tightened. He'd been so focused on survival he hadn't thought about what it meant to navigate a world Eli couldn't see. "Okay," Cale said, adjusting his grip. "The snow is, It's like someone took all the stars and crushed them into dust and spread it everywhere. It's blinding bright in the sun but soft. Quiet. It muffles sound. What about the trees? Bare right now. Dark trunks against all that white. Like cracks in ice. Their branches reach up like they're trying to catch the sky. And the sky? Kael looked up. Gray right now. Heavy. Like it's holding its breath before the next storm. But when it's clear, it's this impossible blue that goes on forever. Makes you feel small, but in a good way. I wish I could see it. Eli said softly. I'll be your eyes, Kael promised. For as long as you need me to be. What if that's forever? Then, forever it is. They walked in silence for a while. Kael's legs burned. His back ached. The fever made everything slightly unreal, colors too bright, sounds too distant. Kael? Eli's voice was hesitant. Yeah? Why are you really helping me? You said it's because I'm a kid who deserves better, but there's something else. I can hear it in your voice. Too perceptive. This kid was going to be trouble. You want the real answer? Kael asked. Please. Because I know what it's like to be thrown away. To be told you're not enough, that you're broken, that you're not worth the resources it takes to keep you alive. Kael's voice hardened. My pack decided I was disposable because I'm sick. Because my wolf is dying and I can't give them pups. They called me damaged goods. That's horrible. Yeah. It is. So when I found you, when I heard what they'd done to you, Kael trailed off. I refused to be like them. I refused to look at a kid who needed help and walk away because it was inconvenient. Even though it might kill you? Especially then. Because if I'm dying anyway, I'd rather go out doing something that matters. Eli was quiet for a long moment. Then, you're not going to die. I won't let you. Kael almost laughed. I appreciate the confidence, kid, but I don't think you have much say in it. Yes, I do, because you're carrying me, and I'm going to make sure you keep walking. That's my job now. Your job is to hold on and stay warm. No, Eli said firmly. My job is to be your reason to keep going. You said you'd be my eyes. I'll be your strength. Kael's throat went tight. Deal. They made it maybe another mile before Kael's legs gave out. He went down hard, barely managing to twist so he didn't land on Eli. The kid rolled into the snow with a yelp. Kael! Ellie's hand scrambled in the snow, trying to find him. Kael, where are you? Here. I'm here. Kael's voice came out weaker than he intended. His vision was graying at the edges. The fever was spiking hard. Eli's hands found his face. You're burning up. I'm fine. Just need a minute. You're not fine. You're really sick. Panic crept into Eli's voice. What do I do? I can't see. I can't help. Listen to me. Kael forced himself to focus through the fever haze. There's water in my pack. Can you find it? Eli fumbled with the backpack, his blind hands searching. It took longer than it should have, but eventually he found the canteen. Good job. Now help me sit up. Together, Eli pushing, Kael forcing his body to cooperate, they got him upright. Kael drank, the water cold and sharp. We need to keep moving, Kael said. Can't stay here. You can barely stand. Then I'll crawl if I have to. Kael tried to get up and immediately collapsed again. Eli made a frustrated sound. This isn't working. You're too sick. I'll be fine. Just need... Stop lying. Eli's voice cracked. You're dying and you're trying to pretend you're not, and it's not fair because I can't do anything and... Eli, breathe. I can't lose you. Tears streamed down Eli's face. You're the first person who didn't leave me. You can't die. You can't. Kael pulled the kid close, ignoring how much it hurt to move. I'm not dying today. You hear me? I'm not leaving you. Promise? I promise to do everything in my power to get us somewhere safe. That's not the same as promising you won't die. It's the best I can do. Eli clung to him, shaking. Not from cold this time. From fear. Kael held him and tried to figure out how the hell they were going to survive the next 3 miles. That's when he heard it. Footsteps, crunching through snow. Multiple footsteps. Kael tensed. Someone's coming. Who? Eli whispered. I don't know. Could be hunters from my old pack. Could be a patrol. Could be rogues. Cale tried to position himself between Eli and the approaching sounds. Stay behind me. 3 wolves emerged from the tree line. All shifted, all snarling. Then one, a large female with silver-shot fur, shifted back to human form. She looked maybe 45, scarred, and deeply unimpressed. You're trespassing, she said flatly. We're seeking asylum, Cale corrected, trying to keep his voice steady despite the fever. I'm Cale, recently banished Omega from Nightfang Pack. This is Eli, recently abandoned pup from the same pack. We're cold, hungry, and would very much like to not die in the snow. Can we speak with your alpha? The woman's eyes moved to Eli, taking in his small size and clouded eyes. Her expression didn't change, but something flickered there. Abandoned, she repeated. Left in a blizzard to freeze because his blindness made him useless. Cale's voice was hard. So yes. Abandoned. We're both refugees. And before you ask, yes. I carried him through the storm. No. I'm not putting him down. And no. I'm not leaving without him. You're sick, the woman observed. Dying, actually. But that's a long-term problem. Right now, I need to know if your pack helps people, or if you're going to turn away a blind kid, because he's inconvenient. The woman studied them for a long moment. Then, I'm Beta Sybil. Follow me. Alpha Rex will want to meet you both. Cale's legs nearly gave out with relief. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Alpha Rex doesn't tolerate lies. If your story doesn't check out, you'll both be escorted back to the boundary. Lucky for us, our story is completely true and also deeply depressing. Sybil almost smiled. Almost. They followed the patrol deeper into territory. Eli was back on Cale's back because there was absolutely no way Cale was trusting him to anyone else yet. The pack house came into view, a sprawling structure built into a hillside. Smoke rising from chimneys. It looked warm. Cale had never wanted anything more in his life. Inside was controlled chaos. Wolves coming and going, children playing, the smell of food cooking somewhere. Everyone stopped to stare at the feverish Omega carrying a blind pup. Cale stared back. He was too tired for shame. Alpha Rex is in his office, Sybil said, leading them upstairs. Fair warning, he's going to ask hard questions. Answer honestly or he'll know. Honestly is what got me banished, so that's on brand. Sybil gave him another almost smile. They reached a heavy door. Sybil knocked once, then entered. Alpha Rex was maybe 50 with iron-gray hair and the kind of presence that made you sit up straighter. He looked up from paperwork, his amber eyes sharp. Beta Sybil. What do we have? Refugees, Alpha, Omega, and Pup, both with concerning stories. Rex's attention focused entirely on Cale and Eli. Sit. You look like you're about to collapse. Cale had never been so grateful for an order. He carefully lowered Eli into a chair, then collapsed into one himself. I'm Alpha Rex. This is Frost Hollow Pack. Tell me everything. So Cale did. He explained his banishment from Nightfang, his sickness, finding Eli in the storm, the kid's abandonment, the miles through snow. He left nothing out, including the fact that he was dying and had maybe weeks left. When he finished, Rex was quiet. Then, you carried a blind pup through a blizzard while dying yourself. More like 8 miles, actually. I got a bit lost. Why? Cale blinked. Why what? Why take him? You were already dying, already struggling. Adding a blind pup would make everything harder. Why not leave him? The question made Cale want to flip the desk, but he kept his voice level. Because he's a child. Because no child deserves to freeze to death alone. Because his blindness doesn't make him disposable. Cale leaned forward despite the fever making his head spin. And because I've been rejected my whole life for not being valuable enough. I wasn't about to do the same thing to someone else. Rex's expression shifted slightly. He turned to Eli. Can you tell me what happened? How you ended up in that storm? Eli had been quiet this whole time, pressed against Cale's side. Now he spoke. His voice small but clear. Alpha Thornridge said blind pups weaken the pack. That I'd never be a real wolf, that I'd just waste resources. Eli's hands clenched. He took me out during the storm and left me by a tree. Said the cold would be quick. Said it was kinder than watching me suffer being useless. Rex's jaw tightened. Thornridge did this personally? Yes. Alpha. And your parents? They agreed with him. Said I was an embarrassment. The room went very quiet. Then Rex stood and walked to the window, staring out at the snow-covered territory. Here's what's going to happen, he said finally. Eli, you're staying here. Permanently. You're Frost Hollow Pack now. We have healers who can help you learn to navigate without sight. You'll be educated, trained, and treated like any other pack pup. Eli's clouded eyes went wide. Really? Even though I'm blind? Especially because you're blind. We don't measure worth by physical ability here. Rex's voice softened. You're safe now, Eli. No one's abandoning you again. Eli burst into tears. Happy tears, his small body shaking with sobs. Kale pulled him close, his own eyes burning. As for you, Rex turned to Kale. You carried a blind pup 8 miles through a blizzard to save his life. You had nothing to gain and everything to lose. That speaks to your character. I did it because it was right, not because I wanted something. I know. Which is why I'm offering you Sanctuary as well. Frost Hollow membership, if you want it. Kale's brain stalled. What? You heard me. You're exactly the kind of wolf we value. Stubborn, brave, willing to fight for those who can't fight for themselves. Rex smiled slightly. Even if you are mouthy, and probably terrible at following orders. Yes. We'll join. Both of us. Together. Together, Eli echoed, grabbing Kale's hand. Good. Rex nodded to Sybil. Show them to quarters. They need food, warmth, and medical attention. We'll handle paperwork later. As they were leaving, Rex called out. Kale. Kale turned. What you did most wolves wouldn't have. Thank you for bringing him home. Kale's throat was too tight to answer. He just nodded. They had a home. Both of them. Against all odds, they'd survived. Chapter 3. The First Rejection. The quarters Beta Sybil showed them were nicer than anywhere Kale had ever lived. 2 bedrooms, a shared living space with a fireplace, and a bathroom with running hot water that made Kale want to weep with joy. Healer will be by shortly, Sybil said. Food's coming up. Try not to burn the place down. Why does everyone think I'm going to burn things? Kale muttered. You have that energy, Sybil said, completely serious, and left. Eli stood in the middle of the living room, his clouded eyes moving as if trying to see. Is this really ours? Apparently. Kale was already moving toward the fireplace, desperate for warmth. We can share the bigger bedroom if you want, or you can have your own space. Whatever makes you comfortable. Can I stay with you? Just for tonight? Of course. Kale got the fire going, proper dried wood, actual kindling. It was paradise, then turned to find Eli still standing in the same spot. Hey, Kale said gently, what's wrong? What if they change their minds? Eli's voice was small. What if they decide I'm too much trouble and send me away? Kale's heart cracked. They won't. You don't know that. Everyone always changes their minds about me eventually. Well, I haven't. And I'm not going to. Kale crossed to him and crouched down. Look well. Listen to me, Eli. I carried you 8 miles through a blizzard. Do you really think I'm going to give up on you now that we're somewhere warm? But what if? No what ifs. We're here. We're safe. And Alpha Rex doesn't strike me as someone who makes promises he doesn't keep. Kale squeezed Eli's shoulder. Besides, he'd have to go through me first. And I'm apparently very annoying when I'm protecting someone. That got a small smile. Food arrived moments later, thick stew, fresh bread, something that might have been pie. They ate like they'd never seen food before, which wasn't far from the truth. This is amazing, Eli said around a mouthful of bread. Is all pack food this good? I have no idea. Night Fang fed Omegas whatever was left after everyone else ate. Which was usually not much, and definitely not this good. That's mean. Yeah, well, they were mean in general, kind of their whole brand. The healer arrived as promised, a woman named Lori, with kind eyes and gentle hands. She checked them both over with professional efficiency. Mild frostbite on your toes, she told Kale. Nothing permanent if you take care of it. I'm more concerned about this fever. How long have you been sick? Few months. It's a wasting sickness, killing my wolf slowly. Lori's expression tightened. There are treatments that might slow it down. Not cure it, but give you more time. How much more time? Hard to say. Maybe months, maybe longer. She turned to Eli. Now let's take a look at you, sweetheart. Eli tensed. My eyes can't be fixed. Everyone says so. I'm not trying to fix them. I'm checking to make sure you're otherwise healthy. Lori's voice was warm. Is it okay if I examine you? Eli nodded slowly. Lori was thorough but gentle, explaining everything she was doing before she did it. When she finished, she sat back. You're malnourished and exhausted, but otherwise healthy. Your blindness is congenital, you were born with it, and no, it can't be fixed. But we can teach you skills to navigate the world using your other senses. Hearing, smell, touch, spatial awareness. Many blind wolves live full, independent lives. Really? Eli's voice was hopeful. Really? We'll start training tomorrow if you're up for it. After Lori left with instructions and promises to return, Eli fell asleep almost immediately on the couch. Cale covered him with every blanket he could find. Then he sat down hard on the floor and let himself process everything. They'd made it. Against impossible odds, they'd survived. Eli had a home. They both did. Cale allowed himself exactly 1 minute of crying. Then he pulled himself together because emotional breakdowns probably weren't impressive, and he wanted this pack to keep them. 3 days passed in a blur of adjustment. Eli started training with Lori, learning exercises to strengthen his other senses. He was a quick study, picking up echolocation techniques and scent mapping faster than expected. Cale, meanwhile, was being integrated into pack life. Alpha Rex had assigned him to help in the pack clinic, apparently figuring someone who'd kept a blind pup alive through a blizzard had some medical instinct. I was just trying not to let him freeze, Cale protested. And now you're going to learn how to do it properly, Lori said cheerfully. You're observant, you care about helping people, and you don't panic in emergencies. That's most of what being a healer requires. Cale discovered he actually loved the work. Learning about medicines and treatments was far more satisfying than the menial tasks he'd done at Night Fang. Everything was going surprisingly well, which should have been his first warning. On the 4th morning, Cale was walking Eli back from training when they heard raised voices near the pack house entrance. Absolutely unacceptable. He's not pack, he has no right. Cale recognized that voice. His blood went cold. Alpha Thornridge stood in the entrance, flanked by 2 of his wolves. He looked exactly as Cale remembered, tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of authority that came from never being questioned. You're harboring my Omega, Thornridge said coldly to Beta Sybil, who stood blocking his path. He's under bond debt to Night Fang Pack. I'm here to collect. Your former Omega, Sybil corrected. Who you banished. You can't have it both ways. The banishment was conditional on debt repayment. He left before the terms were met. The terms were indentured servitude until death. That's not a debt. That's slavery. That's pack law. Cale's first instinct was to grab Eli and run. His second instinct, the one he actually followed, was to step forward. I'm right here, Thornridge. You want to talk? We talk. Thornridge's eyes found him, then moved to Eli, his expression twisted with disgust. You kept the defective pup. I should have known you'd be stupid enough to burden yourself with dead weight. His name is Eli, Cale said quietly. And he's not dead weight. He's a child you tried to murder. I made a practical decision for the good of the pack. You left a 5-year-old to freeze to death. He was consuming resources better spent on wolves with potential. Thornridge's voice was flat, matter of fact. His blindness made him useless. Eli pressed closer to Cale's side. Cale put a protective hand on his shoulder. Why are you here? Thornridge. To collect what's mine. You owe Night Fang 3 more months of service. Either you return willingly, or I invoke pack law and take you by force. He's under Frost Hollow protection now, Sybil said. You have no authority here. I have authority over my Omega until his debt is paid. I'm not your Omega anymore. Cale's voice was steady despite his heart hammering. You banished me. Remember? You stood there and said I was damaged goods not worth keeping. I'm willing to overlook that if you return now. We'll even take the pup. Thornridge's smile was cruel. We can always use extra hands for menial labor. Even blind ones can scrub floors. Rage, white-hot and immediate, flooded through Cale. You want him for slave labor. I want to recoup resources wasted on defective wolves. It's practical. Over my dead body. That can be arranged. Enough. Alpha Rex's voice cut through the tension. He'd appeared from inside, his presence immediately commanding attention. Thornridge, you're not welcome here. This is pack business, Rex. It doesn't concern Frost Hollow. You're on my territory demanding I hand over wolves under my protection. That absolutely concerns me. Rex's voice was ice. And I'm not doing it. The Omega owes you nothing. You banished him, which legally severs all bonds and debts. You can't claim both banishment and bond debt. Pick one. Thornridge's jaw tightened. Fine. Then I'm here about the pup. He's Nightfang blood. He belongs to us. You abandoned him. You forfeited all rights. I made a decision for the pack's good. I can unmake it. No, Rex said flatly. You can't. Eli is Frost Hollow now. He stays here. You're harboring stolen property. I'm protecting a child you tried to kill. There's a difference. The two alphas stared at each other. The air crackled with dominance challenge. Finally, Thornridge stepped back. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Leave my territory. Now. Thornridge's eyes found Kale one last time. You've made a mistake, Omega. That pup will drag you down. You'll realize it soon enough. The only mistake I made was ever believing you were worth following, Kale said quietly. Thornridge left, his wolves following. The tension didn't ease until they were out of sight. Well, Kale said into the silence. That was fun. He'll be back, Sybil said grimly. Thornridge doesn't let things go. Let him come. Rex's voice was hard. Frost Hollow doesn't abandon children. Not for any reason. Kale's legs suddenly felt weak. He sat down hard on the steps. You okay? Rex asked. You just told an alpha to leave rather than hand us over. Yes, and I don't understand why. We're nobody. We're just a sick Omega and a blind pup. Rex crouched down to eye level. You're two people who needed help. That's reason enough. He paused. Also, Thornridge is a piece of shit who deserves everything bad that happens to him. But mostly the first thing. Despite everything, Kale laughed. That night, tucking Eli into bed, Kale tried to process what had happened. He wanted to take me back, Eli said quietly. Alpha Thornridge. To make me work. He's not taking you anywhere. But what if he comes back? What if he takes me while you're sick and can't stop him? Then I'll get unsick real quick and track him down. Kale brushed hair from Eli's face. Listen to me, Eli. I didn't carry you through a blizzard just to lose you to that bastard. You're mine now. My responsibility. My family. And I protect what's mine. Promise. I promise. Love you, Kale. The words hit Kale like a physical thing. His throat went tight. Love you too, kid. So much. He watched Eli drift off to sleep, then sat on the porch staring at the forest. Thornridge would be back. Kale knew it bone deep. And when he came, Kale would be ready. He had too much to lose now. Chapter 4, Seeing Without Sight. The next week passed with an uneasy calm, like the pause between lightning and thunder. Kale kept waiting for Thornridge to return, for hunters to appear at the border, for everything to fall apart. It didn't. Which somehow made the waiting worse. Eli, meanwhile, was thriving in a way that made Kale's chest ache. The kid who'd been shaking and terrified in the snow was slowly becoming confident, even happy. Lori had introduced him to another wolf, a teenage girl named Jasmine who'd been born deaf. She'd taught Eli that different didn't mean broken, that adaptive skills weren't cheating, they were surviving. She says I can do anything sighted wolves can do. Eli reported excitedly after one session. Just differently. She's teaching me to make mental maps using sound. That's amazing, Eli. Watch this. Eli clicked his tongue experimentally, then navigated around the furniture without touching anything. See? The sound bounces back and tells me where things are. That's incredible. Jasmine says with practice, I'll be able to navigate anywhere. Even forests. Eli's face glowed with pride. She says being blind just means I experience the world differently than you do. Not worse, just different. Kale pulled him into a hug, blinking back unexpected tears. She's absolutely right, but not everyone in Frost Hollow shared that view. 4 days after Thornridge's visit, Kale and Eli were walking through the pack commons when 3 wolves blocked their path. All young males. All wearing matching expressions of disdain. "That's the blind pup," one of them said, loud enough for Eli to hear. "The one Alpha Rex is wasting resources on." Kale's jaw tightened. "Excuse me?" The leader, a beta's son named Brett, Kale had learned smirked. "Just stating facts. Kid can barely walk without running into things. What's he going to contribute to the pack? More than you, apparently, since your main contribution seems to be standing around insulting children." Kale positioned himself in front of Eli. "Got anything else stupid to say? Or can we go?" "You're the dying Omega." From Nightfang, Brett's voice dripped contempt. "I heard you got kicked out for being defective. Makes sense you'd collect another defective. Interesting choice of words from someone whose personality is his only disability." Brett's face flushed red. "You can't talk to me like that. You're a beta's son who's never had to work for anything in his life. I'm an Omega who's survived things you can't imagine. We are not the same." Kale's voice dropped to something dangerous. "Now get out of my way before I make you." "You threatening me, Omega? I'm promising you, there's a difference." For a moment, Brett looked like he might actually try something. Then Beta Sybil appeared out of nowhere, her expression thunderous. "Is there a problem here?" Brett and his friends suddenly looked a lot less confident. "No, Beta, just talking." It sounded like harassment, which, as you know, violates pack law. Sybil's voice was cold. "Especially harassment of a disabled pup. That's a particularly disgusting offense. We weren't. I suggest you leave before I decide this warrants a formal complaint to Alpha Rex." They left, but not before Brett shot Kale a look that promised this wasn't over. "You okay?" Sybil asked once they were gone. "Fine." Annoyed, but fine. Kale looked down at Eli, who was pressed against his side. "You okay, kid? Why do they hate me?" Eli's voice was small. "I didn't do anything to them." Sybil crouched down to Eli's level. "They don't hate you. They hate that your existence challenges their worldview. Some wolves are raised to believe strength and physical ability are the only things that matter. You prove them wrong just by being here. That makes them uncomfortable. So it's my fault?" "No, it's their fault for being narrow-minded." Sybil's voice gentled. "Listen to me, Eli. Your worth isn't determined by how fast you can run or how well you fight. It's determined by your character, your choices, how you treat others. Don't let anyone tell you differently." Eli nodded, but Kale could see he didn't quite believe it yet. That night, after Eli went to bed, Kale sat with Lori in the clinic. "Brett and his friends have always been problems," Lori said quietly. "They buy into the old ways. Alpha Rex has been trying to change pack culture, but some wolves resist." "What are the old ways exactly?" "Survival of the fittest taken to extremes. Disabled wolves. Elderly wolves. Anyone considered weak was expected to leave the pack or die trying to prove their worth." Lori's expression was grim. Rex's father ran things that way. Rex changed it when he became Alpha, but not everyone agrees with his approach. How bad does it get? Usually just verbal harassment. Occasionally someone tries to challenge his authority more directly. He shuts them down hard. Lori measured out dried herbs. "But with Eli here, and you defending him so publicly, it might escalate." "Let it. I'm not letting anyone hurt him." "I know. That's what worries me." Lori looked at Kale seriously. "You're Omega. If you get into a physical altercation with a beta wolf, pack law won't protect you the way it would if you were higher ranked. Then I'll just have to not get caught." "Kale, I'm kidding." "Mostly." Kale sighed. "I'm not looking for a fight, but I'm not backing down if they come after Eli. I know. Which is why I'm teaching you emergency medicine. Someone's gotta patch you up when your protective instincts override your common sense." Despite the harassment from Brett's group, life settled into something resembling normal. Eli made friends with some of the younger pups' kids who didn't care about his blindness and just wanted someone to play their elaborate games with. He got stronger, more confident, started smiling easier. Kale watched him transform from a scared, broken child into a happy kid, and felt something fierce and protective bloom in his chest. "You're getting attached," Lori observed one afternoon as they watched Eli play with his friends in the snow. "Is that a problem?" No. Just an observation. You look at him like he's yours. He is mine. I carried him through a blizzard. That makes him mine. That's not how pack bonds usually work. Well, I'm not usual. We've established this. Cale watched Eli laugh at something one of his friends said. He doesn't have anyone else. His parents abandoned him. Someone needs to be his person. And you've decided it's you. Yeah, I have. Is that okay with everyone? Lori smiled. More than okay. I think it's perfect. That kid needs someone exactly like you, stubborn, fierce, too protective for your own good. I'm really selling myself well today. You're selling yourself perfectly. Eli doesn't need someone perfect. He needs someone who won't give up on him. And that's you. 2 weeks after Thornridge's visit, Alpha Rex summoned Cale to his office. Sit, Rex said. We need to talk about Eli. Cale's stomach dropped. What about him? He's thriving. Lori says his mobility using echolocation has improved significantly. His teachers report he's bright and engaged. His friends say he's kind and funny. Rex leaned back. By all accounts, accepting him into the pack was the right decision. But there's been pushback from some pack members. Wolves who think resources are being wasted on a disabled pup. Brett's family in particular has been vocal. Brett's family can. Cale bit back what he was about to say. Brett's family is entitled to their opinion, even if their opinion is garbage. Agreed. But it's causing tension, and I wanted to discuss how to address it. Rex paused. I also wanted to discuss your role in Eli's life. My role? You've essentially been acting as his guardian since you brought him here. Making decisions about his care, attending his therapy sessions, being his primary emotional support. Rex pulled out a document. I'm wondering if you want to make it official. Cale's brain stalled. Official how? Adoption. Legal guardianship. Making you officially responsible for him. Rex slid the paper across. I've noticed you don't like leaving decisions about his well-being to others. This would give you the authority to make those decisions formally. I'm Omega. Can Omegas even adopt in Frost Hollow? Yes. We don't restrict parental rights based on designation. Rex tapped the document. Of course, you'd need Eli's agreement, but I think we both know what he'd say. Cale stared at the paperwork. What if I'm not good enough? What if I mess him up? Cale, you carried him 8 miles through a blizzard to save his life. You've defended him against harassment, supported his training, and shown him more love in 2 weeks than most pups get in years. Rex's voice was firm. You're already good enough. Cale's hands were shaking as he picked up the document. Can I think about it? Talk to Eli? Of course. Take your time, Rex stood. But for what it's worth, I think you'd be an excellent parent. Eli's lucky to have you. That evening, after Eli finished his homework, Cale sat him down. I need to talk to you about something important. Eli immediately looked worried. Are we leaving? Did I do something wrong? No, nothing like that. Actually, the opposite. Cale took a breath. Alpha Rex asked if I wanted to adopt you officially. Make it so I'm legally your guardian. Your parent, basically. Eli's clouded eyes went huge. Really? Really? But only if you want that. I know you've been through a lot, and maybe you don't want. Eli launched himself at Cale, wrapping his arms around his neck so hard Cale almost fell over. Yes. 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 I want you to be my parent. Cale held him tight, blinking back tears. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Eli pulled back to face him, his expression serious. You're my person, Cale. You've been my person since you found me. Making it official just means the world knows what I already knew, that I'm yours and you're mine and we're family. Cale's voice was rough. Forever? Forever. No takebacks. Forever sounds perfect. They signed the papers the next day. It was a small ceremony, just Rex, Sybil, Lori, and a few of Eli's closest friends. Nothing elaborate. But when Rex officially declared Cale as Eli's legal guardian, the look of pure happiness on Eli's face made Cale's chest ache. Congratulations, Rex said, shaking Cale's hand. You're officially a parent. Try not to mess him up too badly. No promises. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be a disaster at this. All parents are disasters. The good ones just keep trying anyway. That night, tucking Eli into bed his son Kale marveled at how much had changed in just a few weeks. From 2 broken refugees to an actual family. "Dad," Eli said sleepily. The word hit Kale like a physical thing. His throat went tight. "Yeah, sweetheart. Thank you for not leaving me in the snow, for carrying me when I couldn't walk, for choosing me. Thank you for letting me," Kale whispered. "For trusting me. For being you. Love you, Dad." "Love you too, kid. So much." Kale watched him drift off to sleep, this pup he'd found broken and scared in a blizzard. This pup who was his now. Some things were worth freezing for. And some things were worth everything. Chapter 5. The Cruelest Alpha. The trouble started 6 weeks after the adoption, on the first day of true winter. Kale woke to Eli shaking his shoulder. "Dad. Dad, wake up. What's wrong?" Kale sat up immediately, his instincts firing. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. But there's someone at the border. I heard Beta Sybil talking to the patrol. Another Alpha is here, asking about me." Kale's blood went cold. "Thornridge? I don't think so." Different voice. "But they're asking for the blind pup." Kale was already moving, pulling on clothes. "Stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me, Sybil or Alpha Rex." "Dad, I'm scared." "I know. Me too." Kale pulled Eli into a quick hug. "But I'm not letting anyone take you. I promise." He found Rex and Sybil in the main hall, talking in low, tense voices. A third wolf stood with them. An Alpha, by the feel of power radiating off him. Older, maybe 60, with cold blue eyes. "Kale," Rex said. "This is Alpha Edwin from Stonecrest Pack." Stonecrest. Eli's original pack. The ones who'd left him to die. "We've met," Kale said coldly. In a manner of speaking. "You're the Alpha who abandoned a 5-year-old in a blizzard." Edwin's expression didn't change. "I made a decision for my pack's survival. Blind pups are a drain on resources we couldn't afford. So you left him to freeze to death. I left him where nature could take its course quickly. It was the merciful option." Rage flooded through Kale, white-hot and immediate. "Merciful? You think leaving a terrified child alone in a storm is merciful? More merciful than watching him suffer through a life of uselessness, unable to contribute, unable to hunt, unable to defend himself or the pack." Edwin's voice was matter-of-fact, like he was discussing the weather. His blindness made him a liability. I eliminated the liability. He's a child, not a liability, a child with a name and feelings and a right to live. He's defective. And now I hear you've claimed him. Edwin's eyes were calculating. "I'm here to offer you a deal. I don't make deals with people who murder children. I didn't murder anyone. I made a practical choice." Edwin pulled out a document. "Return the pup to Stonecrest, and we'll forgive the debt you owe for his early years. The food, shelter, medical care we provided before his condition became apparent. We'll consider the matter closed." Kale stared at him. "You want me to pay you for the privilege of not murdering your own child? We want compensation for resources wasted on a wolf who can't contribute. He's 6 years old. He doesn't owe you anything. Then you do. As his claimed guardian, his debts become yours." Edwin's smile was cold. "Pack law is clear on this. Return him, or pay his debt. 50,000 in currency or equivalent labor." Kale's stomach dropped. 50,000. He didn't have $50, let alone 50,000. "That's extortion," Rex said flatly. "That's pack law. The pup consumed resources. Someone pays for them." Edwin turned back to Kale. "Of course. There's a third option. We take him back, and he works off the debt himself. Even blind wolves can perform menial labor. Cleaning, carrying, sorting. Simple tasks. You want him as a slave. I want compensation. How we get it is up to you. He's not going anywhere with you." Kale's voice was steady despite his heart hammering. "He's Frost Hollow Pack now. My son. And you can't have him. Can't or won't pay the debt. Won't. Because the debt is fake and you know it. You're trying to extort money out of a child you threw away." Edwin's expression hardened. "Very well. I'll invoke pack law and file a formal debt claim. You have 30 days to pay or produce the pup for labor transfer. If you fail, Stonecrest has the right to collect by any means necessary. Try it, Rex said quietly. And see what happens when you threaten wolves under my protection. I'm not threatening. I'm following established law. Edwin headed for the door, then paused. 30 days. Omega. After that we come for what's ours. He left. The silence that followed was deafening. He can't actually do that, Cale said. Can he? Unfortunately, yes. Rex's jaw was tight. Pack law does allow debt claims for resources spent on pups who leave before maturity. It's an old law, meant to prevent packs from stealing pups and avoiding child-rearing costs. But it's almost never enforced this way. So what do? We fight it, challenge the claim's validity, argue that abandonment forfeits all rights to compensation. Rex was already moving toward his office. I'll contact the Council of Alphas. This kind of extortion is exactly why we're trying to reform pack law. And if they don't rule in our favor, Rex met his eyes. Then we defend Eli by any means necessary. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. Cale told Eli about Edwin's visit as gently as he could. He wants money for raising me, Eli said quietly. For keeping me alive before he threw me away. He wants to extort money because he's a terrible person. It's not about you. But if you can't pay, we'll figure it out. Cale pulled him close. I'm not giving you back to him. Not for any amount of money. But Dad, 50,000, that's so much. What if? No what ifs. We'll fight this. Alpha Rex is already working on it. But privately, Cale was terrified. 30 days. Where the hell was he supposed to get 50,000 in 30 days? He barely slept that night, his mind racing through impossible options. The few possessions he owned were worthless. His health was too poor for high-paying labor. He had no family, no connections. No way to earn that kind of money. At dawn, he sat on the porch and tried not to panic. You look like hell, Lori said, sitting beside him with 2 cups of coffee. Couldn't sleep. Because of Edwin's debt claim? 50,000, Lori. I don't have 50,000. I don't have 500. Cale's hands shook around the mug. What if I can't protect him? What if they take him back and put him in some cellar scrubbing floors for the rest of his life? That's not going to happen. You don't know that. I know Rex won't let it happen. I know Frost Hollow doesn't abandon its own. And I know you'll fight tooth and nail before you let anyone hurt that kid. Lori squeezed his shoulder. We'll figure this out. How? I don't know yet. But we will. The next 2 weeks were a nightmare of legal maneuvering. Rex filed counter-arguments. Edwin filed rebuttals. The Council of Alphas agreed to hear the case but couldn't convene for 3 more weeks, which left Cale with 2 weeks to somehow produce 50,000 or lose Eli. Brett and his friends made things worse, whispering loudly whenever Eli walked by about how much he was costing the pack, how resources were being wasted, how maybe Edwin had the right idea. Cale wanted to break something. Preferably Brett's face. Ignore them, Eli said quietly one afternoon. They're just trying to get a reaction. They're succeeding. Dad, I've been thinking. Eli's voice was small. What if I went back, just to work off the debt? Then you wouldn't have to pay anything. Absolutely not. But, Eli, look at me. Cale crouched down. I didn't carry you through a blizzard, adopt you, and love you just to hand you over to people who see you as property. You are my son. Mine. And I protect what's mine, even if it ruins you. Especially then. Eli threw his arms around Cale's neck. I don't want to leave you. You're not leaving. We're in this together. Forever, remember? Forever, Eli whispered. No takebacks. With 1 week left before the deadline, Cale was desperate enough to try anything. Which is how he ended up at the pack's trading post, trying to sell the few things he owned. His coat. His boots. A knife that had been his father's, the only thing he had from his family. It totaled maybe $300. He sat outside afterward, staring at the pathetic amount of money, and tried not to cry. Cale? He looked up. Jasmine stood there with several other wolves, the ones Eli had befriended, the outcasts and misfits who Rex had taken in. We heard about the debt claim. Jasmine signed, Lori translating. We want to help. I appreciate it. But unless you have 50,000 lying around. Jasmine pulled out an envelope and handed it to him. Inside was money. A lot of money. Maybe $5,000. We took up a collection. Lori translated as Jasmine signed. Everyone who's ever been rejected or thrown away for being different. We all contributed what we could. Kale stared at the money, his throat tight. I can't take this. Yes, you can. Another wolf, said Christopher, who walked with a cane after a hunting injury. You fought for Eli when no one else would. Now we're fighting for both of you. It's not enough, Kale said quietly. It's generous and amazing. But it's not 50,000. So we keep raising money, Jasmine signed. We do bake sales, odd jobs, whatever it takes. We have a week. You'd do that? For us? You prove disabled wolves deserve to live, Christopher said simply. You carried a blind pup through hell to save him. Yeah. We'd do that for you. Kale couldn't speak. Could only nod and blink back tears. Over the next 6 days, something remarkable happened. The outcasts organized. Bake sales, craft fairs, offering services for donation. Word spread beyond Frost Hollow. Other packs who'd heard Eli's story contributed. Strangers sent money. But as the deadline approached, they still weren't close enough. 40,000, 45,000, 48,000. With 1 day left, they were still 2,000 short. Kale sat in the clinic that night, staring at the numbers, trying to figure out what he could possibly sell or do to make up the difference. I have an idea, Lori said quietly. But you're not going to like it. Try me. We lie. Kyle looked up. What? We tell Edwin we have the money. Arrange a meeting to transfer it. Then at the meeting, we have every wolf who contributed there. Every outcast, every disabled pack member, everyone who's ever been thrown away. Lori's eyes were fierce. We make him look at them. All of them. And we make him explain why they deserve to be discarded. That's not going to get us the 2,000 we're missing. No, but it might shame him into backing down. Or at least delay him long enough for the council to rule. It was a terrible plan. But it was the only plan they had. Okay, Kyle said. Let's do it. Chapter 6. When the weak become the eyes. The meeting was set for dawn at the territorial border neutral ground. Edwin had agreed, probably expecting Kale to arrive alone, defeated, ready to hand over Eli or beg for more time. He was going to be disappointed. Kale woke Eli before sunrise. We need to talk. Is today the day? Eli's voice was small. The deadline? Yes, but I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Always. Good. Because things are going to get intense today, and I need you to be brave. I'm always brave when you're with me. Kale pulled him close. Whatever happens, know that I love you. That I will never stop fighting for you. Understand? Dad, you're scaring me. I know. I'm sorry. Just trust me, okay? They arrived at the border as the sun was rising. Edwin was already there with 4 of his wolves, all looking smug and confident. His expression changed when he saw who else was there. 40 wolves stood behind Kale and Eli. Every outcast in Frost Hollow, Jasmine with her deafness, Christopher with his cane. 3 elderly wolves who'd been deemed too old to be useful. 2 wolves with chronic illnesses. A young woman with a prosthetic leg. Others with scars and disabilities and differences that other packs had rejected. And at the front, standing beside Kale, was Alpha Rex. What is this? Edwin demanded. This is everyone who contributed to Eli's debt fund, Kale said. $48,000. Every person here gave what they could. You're still 2,000 short. We are. Which is why I'm proposing an alternative. Edwin's eyes narrowed. I'm listening. Look at them. Kale gestured to the wolves behind him. Every single one was thrown away by their original packs. Deemed useless, burdensome, not worth the resources. Just like you did to Eli. What's your point? My point is they're all thriving now. Contributing, living full lives. Because someone Alpha Rex saw their worth. Kale's voice was hard. You want 50,000 for a child you abandoned. Fine. But I want you to look at every person here and explain why they deserve to be discarded. Explain why Eli deserves to spend his life as your slave because he can't see. This is not. Explain it to Jasmine. Cale pointed to her. She's deaf. By your logic, she's useless. Should she be scrubbing floors too? This isn't about her. Explain it to Christopher. He can't run anymore after his injury. Is he a drain on resources? You're wasting my time. Explain it to these three. Cale gestured to the elderly wolves. They're old, slow, past their prime. Should we leave them in blizzards? Enough. Edwin's voice cracked like a whip. You don't have the money. The debt stands. Hand over the pup, or I invoke pack law and take him by force. Over my dead body, Rex said quietly. You'd start a war over a defective pup? I'd start a war over the principle that children aren't property and disability doesn't equal worthlessness. Rex stepped forward. But we won't need to go to war, because I'm paying the remaining 2,000. Edwin blinked. What? You heard me. I'm covering the difference. Eli's debt is paid in full. Rex pulled out a banknote. Take your blood money and leave my territory. Edwin stared at the money, then at the 40 wolves standing defiant behind Cale. Something flickered in his eyes, maybe shame, maybe anger, maybe recognition that he was outnumbered and outmaneuvered. This isn't over, he said finally, taking the money. Yes, it is, Rex replied. Eli is Frost Hollow Pack, he stays here. And if you ever come near him again, we'll have a different kind of conversation. Edwin left, his wolves following. The moment they were out of sight, Cale's legs gave out. He sat down hard in the snow, shaking. We did it. Eli whispered, his hand finding Cale's. We actually did it. We did it. Cale pulled him close, his voice thick. You're staying. Forever. The outcasts erupted in cheers. Jasmine was crying. Christopher was laughing. The elderly wolves were hugging each other. Rex crouched down beside Cale. You okay? You paid $2,000 for us. I paid $2,000 to prove a point. That disabled wolves have value. That we protect our own. Rex's expression softened. Besides, you and Eli have given Frost Hollow something more valuable than money. You've given us a purpose. A reminder of why we do this. Thank you, Cale managed. For everything. Thank me by raising that kid to be as stubborn and fierce as you are. The world needs more wolves who don't give up. That night, there was a celebration in the pack house. Nothing elaborate, just food, warmth, and the knowledge that Eli was safe. Cale watched Eli laugh with his friends, confident and happy, and felt something settle in his chest. They'd made it. Against impossible odds. They'd survived. Dad? Eli found him later, after the celebration had wound down. Can we talk? Always. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I wanted to say thank you. For everything. For not giving up when it would have been easier. For fighting when you were sick and scared. For making me believe I was worth fighting for. Cale's throat went tight. You've always been worth fighting for, Eli. I know that now, because you showed me. Eli's clouded eyes were bright with unshed tears. You carried me through a blizzard when you were dying. You defended me against alphas. You found 40 people willing to pay for my freedom. You made me matter. You always mattered. Not to everyone, but to you, and to them. Eli gestured toward where the outcasts were still celebrating. You built a family out of broken people. You made us believe we deserved to exist. You do deserve to exist, exactly as you are. I know, because you taught me. Eli hugged him tight. I love you, Dad. Love you too, kid. So much. 2 days later, Cale woke to pain. Not the usual fever ache he'd gotten used to. Something sharper, deeper. His wolf was fading faster. Lori confirmed what he already knew. The stress of the past few weeks accelerated the deterioration. I'm sorry, Cale. You have maybe a month, 2 at most. Does Eli know? Not unless you told him. Cale nodded slowly. Don't tell him yet. I want him to have a few more weeks of normal first. Cale. Please, Lori. He's been through enough. Let him be happy for a little while longer. So Cale hid the increasing weakness, the fever spikes, the way shifting even partially was becoming impossible. He smiled through the pain and pretended everything was fine. For 3 weeks. It worked. Then came the morning he couldn't get out of bed. Eli found him, his small hands touching Cale's burning forehead. Dad? Dad? Wake up. I'm awake. Cale managed. Just tired. You're really sick. I can smell it. The sickness is worse. I'm fine, Eli. Just need to rest. Don't lie to me. Eli's voice cracked. Please don't lie. I can hear your heartbeat. It's wrong. Too slow. Dad. What's happening? Cale pulled him close, even though it hurt. Remember when I told you I had a wasting sickness? That my wolf was dying? Yes. It's getting worse. The stress of the past few weeks made it progress faster. Cale forced himself to be honest. I don't have much time left, Eli. How much time? Lori says maybe a few weeks. Eli went very still. Then, no. Eli. No. You don't get to die. You don't get to save me and fight for me and make me love you and then leave. Eli's voice was fierce through his tears. I won't let you. It's not something you can stop, sweetheart. Then we'll find a healer who can. Or a cure. Or something. There has to be something. Lori's tried everything. Then we try harder. Eli pulled away, his clouded eyes streaming. You carried me through a blizzard. You fought alphas. You didn't give up on me even when it was impossible. So I'm not giving up on you. Eli, this is different. No, it's not. You taught me that impossible just means harder, not hopeless. So we're going to find a way to save you. Because I need you. Because you're my dad and I just got you and it's not fair. Cale's chest ached. Life isn't fair, kid. Then we make it fair, together. Eli's jaw set with determination. I'll be your eyes, remember? You carried me. Now I'll guide you through this. Guide me through dying? Guide you through surviving. Eli's voice was fierce. We're a team. We don't give up, ever. Looking at his son stubborn, brave, refusing to accept defeat, Cale felt something shift. Maybe Eli was right. Maybe there was still hope. Okay, Cale said quietly. We try. Together. Together. Eli agreed, grabbing his hand. Forever no takebacks. Forever. Cale echoed. No takebacks. Over the next week, Eli became Cale's shadow. When Cale was too weak to walk, Eli guided him by sound and touch. When Cale couldn't see clearly through fever, Eli described their surroundings. When Cale wanted to give up, Eli reminded him that giving up wasn't allowed. The role reversal was complete. The pup Cale had carried was now carrying him. How are you doing this? Cale asked one afternoon. Taking care of me when you can't even see? The same way you carried me when you were dying, Eli said simply. Because you're worth it. Because love doesn't need eyes to see what matters. Lori watched them together, shaking her head in wonder. That kid is something else. He learned from the best, Cale said, managing a weak smile. You mean you? No. I mean life taught him to be strong. I just gave him permission to believe in himself. But despite Eli's determination and Lori's treatments, Cale was getting worse. The fever climbed. His wolf's presence faded to almost nothing. Moving from bed to chair exhausted him. He had days left, maybe a week. And then everything changed. A rogue healer arrived at Frost Hollow's border, asking for sanctuary. Her name was Callie, and she specialized in wasting sicknesses. I heard about your case, she told Cale. About the Omega who carried a blind pup through a blizzard. I wanted to see if I could help. Lori's already tried everything. Not everything. There's an experimental treatment, dangerous, painful, low success rate. But it's something. Cale looked at Eli, who was listening intently. What do I have to lose? Cale asked. Your life if it goes wrong. The treatment forces a complete system reset. Your wolf essentially dies and tries to rebuild. Most don't survive the process. And if I don't try, you die for certain within days. Cale looked at Eli again, his son, who'd fought so hard to keep him alive. I'll do it, Cale said. Whatever it takes. Dad, if it's dangerous. I'm dying anyway, Eli. At least this way there's a chance. Cale squeezed his hand. And you taught me that chance is worth fighting for. Eli's face crumpled. What if it doesn't work? What if I lose you? Then you keep living. Keep being brave and stubborn and amazing. You keep proving that blind wolves can do anything. Kale's voice was fierce. But I'm planning to survive. Because we have forever, remember? And I'm not done with forever yet. Forever. Eli whispered. No takebacks. No takebacks, Kyle agreed. The treatment started that night. And Kale's world became fire. Chapter 7. The Sanctuary's Test. The treatment was 3 days of agony. Kale's wolf essentially tore itself apart, trying to rebuild from cellular memory. Fever spiked to dangerous levels. His body convulsed. He couldn't eat, could barely breathe. Existed in a haze of pain that made dying seem merciful. Through it all, Eli stayed beside him. When Kale screamed, Eli held his hand. When Kale thrashed, Eli talked him through it. When Kale begged for it to stop, Eli reminded him why he was fighting. You carried me through a blizzard, Eli said over and over, his voice steady through his own tears. Now I'm carrying you through this. We don't give up. We never give up. Lori and Callie worked around the clock, managing symptoms, keeping Kale's body from shutting down completely. His wolf is trying to reconnect, Callie said on the second day. But the bond is fragile. If it breaks, it won't break, Eli said fiercely. He's the strongest person I know. On the third day, something shifted. The fever broke. The convulsions stopped. Kale's eyes opened clear for the first time in months. Eli. His voice was hoarse. I'm here, Dad. I'm right here. Did it work? Callie checked him over, her expression cautious. Your wolf is still there. Weak, but present. The bond is holding. She met his eyes. You survived. Against all odds, you survived. Kale started crying. He couldn't help it. Relief. Exhaustion. Gratitude, it all poured out. Eli climbed into the bed beside him, careful of the medical equipment. I told you we don't give up. You did. You carried me through. Kale pulled him close. Thank you, Eli, for not letting me go. Forever, remember? No takebacks. Forever. Kale agreed. No takebacks. Recovery was slow. The treatment had saved Kale's life, but his wolf was damaged. He couldn't shift fully anymore. The transformation was too painful, too unstable. But he was alive. His fever was gone. The constant weakness had eased. He had time. Years, maybe. Actual time to raise his son. You'll never be at full strength, Callie warned. Your wolf will always be fragile. But with care, you can live a normal lifespan. I'll take it, Kale said. After everything, I'll take whatever life I can get. 2 weeks after the treatment, Kale was strong enough to walk outside. Eli guided him to the pack commons, where the outcasts had gathered. We heard you made it, Jasmine signed, Lori translating. We wanted to celebrate. It wasn't much, just food and warmth, and people who understood what fighting for your life meant. But it was everything. Thank you, Kale said, his voice thick. All of you. For the money, the support, for believing Eli and I were worth saving. You proved we were worth saving first, Christopher said. You carried a blind pup through hell. That showed every one of us that disabled doesn't mean disposable. So yeah, we fought for you, your family. Family. The word settled warm in Kale's chest. 3 months passed, winter gave way to early spring. Kale regained his strength slowly, learning to work within his wolf's limitations. Eli continued thriving. His echolocation skills had become so advanced he could navigate the forest alone now. Life was good. Almost perfect. Then the second blizzard hit. It came out of nowhere, a late-season storm that turned vicious fast. Kale and Eli were in the clinic when the warning went out. All non-essential personnel stay inside. Sybil's voice carried through the pack house. This one's bad. 0 visibility, sub-zero temperatures. No one goes out unless absolutely necessary. They settled in for a long night. The clinic had supplies, heat, and reinforced walls. They'd be fine. Then a scout stumbled in, half frozen, bleeding from a head wound. Patrol, he gasped, caught in the storm. 3 wolves, including Beta Sybil. They went out before it hit, checking the northern border. Now they can't find their way back. Kale's blood went cold. How long have they been out there? 2 hours, maybe 3. In this storm, that might as well be forever. We need to organize a rescue, Lori said immediately. In zero visibility? Another wolf shook his head. We'd just get lost too. So we let them die? Cale demanded. We wait for the storm to pass. They'll be dead by then. Then what do you suggest? We can't see in this. We'd be walking blind. The words hung in the air. Blind. Cale turned to Eli. You can navigate in this. Eli's head tilted. What? You don't need to see. You use sound, scent, spatial memory. This storm affects sight. Not those things. Dad, I'm 11, I can't. You navigate the forest alone all the time. You've memorized the territory layout better than most wolves who can see. Cale crouched down. Eli, you could guide us. You could find them. That's insane, another wolf protested. He's a child. A blind child. He's the most qualified person here for this situation, Cale shot back. His blindness is an advantage right now. Eli was quiet for a long moment. Then, where were they last seen? Northern border. Near the old oak grove. Eli's brow furrowed in concentration. I know that area. There's a rock formation about half a mile past it. Natural shelter. If they're smart, they'd head there. Can you find it? In this storm? I think so. The wind patterns are different near those rocks. I should be able to follow the sound. This is insane, the other wolf repeated. This is survival, Cale said. And right now my blind son is our best chance. He looked at Eli seriously. But I'm not ordering you to do this. It's your choice. Eli straightened. They saved us. Beta Sybil defended me when Brett's group harassed me. Alpha Rex paid for my freedom. We don't abandon family. No, Kyle agreed. We don't. They assembled a small rescue team, Cale, Eli, Christopher, and 2 other wolves willing to trust a blind child's navigation. They bundled up, roped themselves together so no one would get separated, and headed into the storm. The wind was brutal. Snow so thick Cale couldn't see his own hand in front of his face. The cold bit through every layer of clothing. But Eli walked confidently ahead, his head tilted slightly, listening. Left here, he called back. There's a drop-off to the right. Stay close to me. They followed. Eli's directions were precise, confident. He was navigating by sound, the way wind moved around trees, bounced off rocks, echoed in open spaces. How far? Cale asked after maybe 20 minutes. Maybe half a mile more. The wind is changing pitch. We're getting close to the formation. Another wolf stumbled. Christopher caught him. This is impossible. We can't see anything. I can't see either, Eli said calmly. But I can hear. Trust me. They pushed forward. Cale's wolf, still fragile, protested the cold and exertion. But he ignored it. Sybil was out here. They had to find her. There. Eli pointed suddenly. That rock formation. I can hear voices echoing off it. They changed direction. The formation appeared like a shadow in white, and huddled underneath were 3 wolves, one injured. Oh, thank the goddess, one of them gasped. How did you find us? My son, Cale said, pulling Eli forward. The blind pup you all doubted just saved your lives. Sybil, her leg clearly broken, stared at Eli with something like wonder. You navigated in this, without sight? I don't need sight, Eli said simply. I have other ways of seeing. Getting everyone back was harder. The injured wolf had to be carried, slowing them down. The storm intensified. At one point, even Eli seemed uncertain. Dad, he whispered. I think we're off course. The wind patterns are wrong. You can do this, Cale said quietly. Trust yourself. You've never let me down. Eli closed his clouded eyes, concentrating. Then, back 20 paces. There's a hollow that's disrupting the sound. Once we're past it, I'll be able to reorient. They backtracked. Eli was right once past the hollow. His confidence returned. 2 hours later, frozen and exhausted, they stumbled back into pack territory. The pack house erupted in cheers. Lori rushed to treat the injured. Wolves crowded around Eli, thanking him, marveling at what he'd done. You saved 3 lives, Rex said, his voice full of pride. You did what none of us could do. You proved that blindness isn't a weakness. It's just a different way of experiencing the world. Eli ducked his head, embarrassed. I just did what needed doing. No, Rex corrected. You did something extraordinary. And you did it because your father taught you that different doesn't mean less. That night, after Eli had fallen asleep from exhaustion, Rex found Cale on the porch. Your son is remarkable, Rex said. He's everything I'm not. Brave, confident, selfless. He's those things because you showed him how to be. You carried him through a blizzard when everyone else left him to die. You fought alphas for his freedom. You taught him his worth. Rex sat beside him. That kid is remarkable because you're remarkable. I just did what anyone would do. No, you did what almost no one would do. And because of that, Eli knows he matters. He knows disabled wolves can be heroes. Rex paused. You changed this pack, Cale. You changed how we think about strength and worth, and what it means to be family. Cale's throat was tight. I just wanted him to be safe. You gave him more than safety. You gave him a future, and in doing that, you gave hope to every outcast who thought they didn't deserve one. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the storm finally break, revealing stars. Rex? Cale said quietly. Yeah? Thank you. For taking us in when we had nowhere else to go. For defending us against Edwin. For paying that last 2,000. For everything. Thank you for reminding me why I became Alpha in the first place. To protect wolves no one else would protect. To prove that every life has value. Rex stood. Get some rest. Tomorrow we celebrate. Your son is a hero. Let him enjoy it. Cale watched Rex go, then turned his eyes to the stars. They'd survived. Both of them. Through blizzards and alphas and impossible odds, they'd built a life worth living. And this time, when the storm came, Eli had been the one to guide them through. The pup he'd carried had become the light in the darkness. Some things were worth freezing for, and some things some people were worth everything. Chapter 8. The past comes hunting. Spring settled over Frost Hollow like a promise. Snow melted, revealing green beneath. Eli turned 7, celebrated with a party where half the pack showed up. Life was good. Cale should have known it wouldn't last. The warning came on a sunny afternoon 6 weeks after Eli's rescue mission. Cale was in the clinic, inventorying supplies with Lori, when Beta Sybil burst through the door. We have a problem, she said, her face grim. Thornridge is back. And he's not alone. Cale's blood went cold. How many? 20 wolves, all armed. He's demanding a formal audience with Alpha Rex, claiming Frost Hollow is harboring stolen property. Eli's not property. He's also claiming you're in breach of your Omega bond. Says you owe Nightfang Pack 3 years of service, and he's here to collect. I was banished. That severed all bonds. He's saying the banishment was temporary, that you were supposed to return after completing external service. Sybil's jaw tightened. It's all lies, but he's got documentation. Forged, probably, but official looking enough to cause problems. Cale's hands clenched. What does Rex want me to do? Nothing stupid. He's handling the formal challenge. But Cale Thornridge brought hunters. Professional trackers. If this goes badly, they'll try to take Eli by force. Over my dead body. That's what I'm afraid of. Sybil gripped his shoulder. Don't do anything reckless. Let Rex handle this. But Cale knew Thornridge. Knew the Alpha didn't give up. Didn't forget perceived slights. And Cale escaping with Eli, proving that throwing away disabled pups was wrong, that was the biggest slight of all. The formal audience was held in the Great Hall. Thornridge stood at one end, flanked by his 20 wolves. Rex stood at the other, with Sybil, Cale, and Eli beside him. Alpha Rex, Thornridge began, his voice formal. I come seeking justice. This Omega, he gestured to Cale, violated his bond contract with Nightfang Pack. He owes 3 years of service. I'm here to collect him and the pup he stole. Cale was banished, Rex said flatly. You can't claim both banishment and bond debt. The banishment was conditional. He was to complete external service and return. He never returned. Thornridge produced papers. The contract is clear. Rex examined the documents. His expression darkened. These are forgeries. They're official Night Fang Pack records. They're lies. Rex handed them back. Kale owes you nothing. And Eli was abandoned. Not stolen. You left him to die in a blizzard. I made a practical decision about a defective pup. You tried to murder a child. I eliminated a resource drain. Thornridge's voice was cold. And now that child has demonstrated value navigating storms. Saving lives. Value that belongs to Night Fang. We invested in his early years. We're entitled to the return. Kale stepped forward. He's not an investment. He's a person, my son. He's a blind pup you had no right to claim. I had every right. You threw him away. That forfeited your claim. Pack law says otherwise. Thornridge pulled out another document. I filed a formal challenge with the Council of Alphas. Either you return with me and the pup for adjudication, or I invoke combat rights. The room went silent. Combat rights meant a fight to the death. Winner took all. You can't be serious, Rex said. I'm completely serious. The Omega violated his bond. Pack law allows me to challenge for his return. Thornridge's smile was cruel. Of course, if you want to avoid bloodshed, simply hand them over. I'll take them back to Night Fang for trial. If the council rules in your favor, they go free. If not, they stay where they belong. There won't be a trial, Kale said quietly. Because if I go back to Night Fang, I'll never leave alive. You'll make sure of it. That's a risk you should have considered before breaking your bond. I didn't break anything. You banished me, remember? Stood there and said I was worthless, that my sickness made me a drain on resources. You threw me away just like you threw away Eli. And yet here you are. Alive and well. Seems my mercy was wasted. Your mercy was leaving me to die slowly in the cold. Thornridge's expression hardened. Last chance, Omega. Return willingly, or I challenge your Alpha for custody rights. Don't do this, Rex said quietly. You'll lose. Will I? You're strong, Rex, but you're not as young as you used to be. And I have 20 wolves here. How many of yours are willing to die for a sick Omega and a blind pup? All of them, Eli said suddenly. Everyone turned. Eli had been silent until now, pressed against Kale's side. But now he stepped forward, his clouded eyes fixed in Thornridge's general direction. All of them would die for us, Eli said, his young voice clear. Because we're family. Because Frost Hollow doesn't abandon wolves for being different or sick or disabled. Because my dad taught them that worth isn't measured by what your body can do. Your dad, Thornridge sneered. You mean the Omega who stole you? I mean my dad who saved me, who carried me 8 miles through a blizzard when he was dying, who fought alphas for my freedom, who taught me that blind doesn't mean broken. Eli's voice strengthened. You left me to freeze because you thought I was worthless. But I saved 3 wolves in a storm you would have lost people to. So tell me, Alpha Thornridge, who's really worthless here? The silence was deafening. Thornridge's face went purple with rage. You dare. I dare, Eli said simply. Because my dad taught me to be brave. And brave means standing up to bullies, even when they're alphas. Enough. Thornridge turned back to Rex. I invoke formal challenge. Tomorrow at dawn. Combat rules, no shifting. No weapons. First to yield or die. Winner takes custody of the Omega and pup. I accept, Rex said. No. Kale grabbed Rex's arm. You can't, he'll kill you. He won't. And I'm not letting him take you. Rex's voice was firm. This ends tomorrow. Thornridge smiled coldly. Yes, it does. That night Kale couldn't sleep. He paced the quarters, his mind racing. Rex was strong, but Thornridge was younger, ruthless, and had been training specifically for combat. The odds weren't good. And if Rex lost, Kale and Eli would be dragged back to Night Fang. Separated, probably. Eli put to work as a slave. Kale executed for bond violation. Everything they'd built would be destroyed. Dad? Eli's voice was small from the bedroom doorway. Can't sleep either? No. Too much on my mind. Eli padded over and climbed into Kale's lap. Alpha Rex is going to win. You don't know that. I do. Because he's fighting for us. That makes him stronger. That's not how fights work, Eli. Isn't it? You carried me through a blizzard when you were dying. You should have collapsed, should have frozen, should have given up. But you didn't. Because you were fighting for me. Eli looked up with those clouded eyes. Love makes us stronger. Rex has that. Thornridge doesn't. Cale pulled him close. When did you get so wise? I had a good teacher. They sat in silence for a while. Then Eli said quietly, Dad, if Thornridge wins, if he takes us back, don't think about that. I have to. Because I need you to know whatever happens. You saved me. You gave me years I wouldn't have had. You taught me I was worth something. That's not nothing, Eli. And if he separates us, if I never see you again, I'll remember. I'll remember that someone loved me enough to carry me through hell. That someone fought alphas for me. That someone chose me when everyone else threw me away. Cale was crying now. We're not losing. Rex will win. We'll stay together. But if we don't, I'll find you. I don't care how long it takes or what I have to do. I'll find you. Cale's voice was fierce. You're my son. Mine. And nothing, not Thornridge, not Pack Law, not anything is taking you from me. Eli buried his face in Cale's chest. Forever? Forever. No takebacks. Dawn came too quickly. The fight was held in the Pack Commons, neutral ground where both parties could witness. Thornridge's 20 wolves on one side, Frost Hollow's pack on the other. Cale stood with Eli, his heart hammering. Rex and Thornridge faced each other in the center. No weapons. No shifting. Just two alphas, and the dominance that came with their positions. Last chance to yield. Thornridge said, Give me the Omega and Pup, and I'll leave peacefully. Not happening, Rex replied. Then let's finish this. They circled each other, then Thornridge lunged. The fight was brutal. Thornridge was fast, vicious, going for kill strikes immediately. Rex was defensive at first, blocking, dodging, waiting for openings. Blood spattered the ground. Thornridge landed a hit that opened a gash on Rex's shoulder. Rex retaliated with a blow that broke Thornridge's nose. Back and forth. Neither giving ground. He's losing. Someone whispered behind Cale. No, he's not, Eli said firmly. Listen to his breathing. He's pacing himself. Thornridge is already tired. Eli was right. Thornridge's movements were getting sloppier, more desperate. Rex was steady, controlled, waiting. Then Thornridge made a mistake, overextended on a punch. Rex caught his arm, twisted, and slammed him to the ground. Yield, Rex growled. Never. Thornridge tried to rise. Rex hit him again. Once, twice. Thornridge's head snapped back. Blood poured from his mouth. Yield, I said. Rex's hand closed around Thornridge's throat. I'm giving you one chance. Yield, or I finish this. Choose. Thornridge's eyes were wild with rage and fear. His wolves were tense, hands on weapons, ready to intervene. The moment stretched. Then Thornridge rasped. I yield. Rex released him and stepped back. It's done. Cale and Eli stay with Frost Hollow. You leave my territory and never return. Understood? Thornridge struggled to his feet, swaying. This isn't over. Yes, it is. You lost. The challenge is complete. Pack Law says the matter is settled. Pack Law, Thornridge spat blood. Pack Law also says I can appeal to the council. Appeal all you want. They'll rule the same way. You abandoned Eli. You forfeited all rights. Rex's voice was hard. Now leave before I change my mind about letting you live. Thornridge left, his wolves supporting him. But the look he shot Cale was pure hatred. Watch your back, Omega. This isn't finished. Then they were gone. The moment they were out of sight, Cale's legs gave out. He sat down hard, shaking. We won, Eli whispered, wrapping his arms around Cale's neck. We actually won. We won, Cale echoed, unable to believe it. Rex crouched down beside them, bleeding and bruised but grinning. Told you I wouldn't let him take you. Thank you, Cale managed. For fighting for us. For everything. Thank me by staying. By raising that remarkable kid. By proving every day that Frost Hollow made the right choice taking you in. Rex ruffled Eli's hair. You two are family now. And we protect family. Forever? Eli asked. Forever, Rex confirmed. No takebacks. Chapter 9. The blizzard inside. 3 months passed without incident. Spring turned to summer. Eli turned 8, taller now, more confident. His echolocation skills had become so refined he could navigate the forest faster than some sighted wolves. Kale's health stabilized. The experimental treatment had given him years he wouldn't have had otherwise. His wolf would never be strong, but it was enough. He was alive. He had time with his son. Everything should have been perfect. But Kale couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. Thornridge's parting words haunted him. This isn't finished. The feeling proved prophetic on a humid August afternoon. Kale was in the clinic when a young wolf burst through the door, panting. Raiders at the southern border. They grabbed 2 pups who were playing near the creek. Kale's blood went cold. Which pups? Eli and his friend Omar. The world stopped. How long ago? Maybe 20 minutes. Beta Sybil's already organizing a pursuit, but Kale was already moving, shouting for Lori to alert Rex. His wolf surged despite its weakness, lending him speed he didn't normally have. He reached the southern border in minutes. Sybil was there with 10 wolves, studying tracks. They're headed toward Nightfang territory, she said grimly. 4 raiders, 2 pups, moving fast. Thornridge, Kale snarled. It has to be Thornridge. Probably. But we can't prove it without catching them. Sybil mounted her wolf form. We leave now. Can you keep up? Kale's wolf couldn't shift fully anymore. But he could run. I'll keep up or die trying. They ran. Through forest, across streams, following the scent trail. Kale pushed his damaged wolf harder than he had since the treatment. Ignoring the pain. Ignoring the warning signs that he was doing permanent damage. Eli was out there. Scared. Maybe hurt. That was all that mattered. After an hour of hard running, they caught up. The raiders had stopped in a clearing, their 2 captives bound and gagged. Eli and Omar sat back to back. Eli's clouded eyes moving frantically as he tried to make sense of sounds around him. One of the raiders was speaking into a communication device. Have the blind pup and 1 other. Approaching rendezvous point in 30 minutes. Thornridge wants them delivered before. Now, Sybil roared. Frost Hollow wolves burst from the trees. The raiders scattered, drawing weapons. A fight erupted, snarling, snapping, the clash of bodies. Kale ignored all of it. He went straight for Eli. A raider intercepted him, massive, scarred, clearly a professional fighter. He swung at Kale with a blade that whistled through the air. Kale ducked, swept the raider's legs, and when the male went down, Kale didn't stop, couldn't stop. This was between him and his son, and anyone in the way was going to regret it. He fought with a ferocity he didn't know he had. His wolf, damaged and weak, nonetheless gave him everything it could. Claws, teeth, raw determination. The raider went down hard. Kale reached Eli and tore through the ropes binding him. Are you hurt? Did they hurt you? Dad! Eli threw his arms around Kale's neck. I knew you'd come. I knew you'd find me. Always. I'll always find you. Kale quickly freed Omar, then pulled both boys behind him as the fight raged around them. Frost Hollow was winning. The raiders were outnumbered and outmatched. 3 were already down, bleeding. The 4th was retreating. Sybil shifted to human form and grabbed the communication device the raider had dropped. She listened, her expression darkening. It's worse than we thought, she said. Thornridge isn't just taking Eli, he's planning an assault on Frost Hollow itself. Tonight, using the kidnapping as a distraction to pull our forces away from the pack house. How many wolves? Kale demanded. 50. Maybe more. The number hit like a physical blow. Frost Hollow had maybe 70 combat-capable wolves total. A force of 50 attacking while they were scattered on a rescue mission, it would be devastating. We need to get back, Sybil said. Now. They ran again. Faster this time, desperation lending speed. But they were hours from Frost Hollow. And according to the communications they'd intercepted, Thornridge's assault would begin at sundown. They weren't going to make it. Halfway back, dark clouds rolled in. The temperature dropped 20 degrees in minutes. Thunder rumbled. No, Sybil breathed. Not now. A summer storm, the 3rd blizzard, Kale realized with cold certainty. Not snow this time, but wind and rain and lightning that would slow them down even more. The storm hit with vicious intensity. Rain poured in sheets. Lightning split the sky. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. "We have to keep moving," Sybil shouted over the thunder. But the younger wolves were struggling. Omar was exhausted from the kidnapping. 2 of Sybil's warriors were injured from the fight. They couldn't maintain this pace in these conditions. "We're not going to make it in time," one of the wolves said. "Then we split up," Kale said. "Some of us continue to Frost Hollow. The rest circle around. Come at Thornridge's force from behind when they attack. That's suicide. Thornridge has 50 wolves. And we have the element of surprise, plus home territory advantage." Kale looked at Sybil. "You know it's our best shot." Sybil was quiet for a long moment, rain streaming down her face. Then, "I'll take the injured and the pups back to defend the pack house. Kale, you take 5 wolves and circle around. Hit Thornridge from behind when the assault begins." "I'm going with Dad," Eli said immediately. "Absolutely not," Kale and Sybil said in unison. "You need me. This storm you can barely see. But I don't need to see. I can guide you." Eli's voice was firm. "Just like I guided the rescue team through the blizzard. I can do this. Eli, this is different. This is combat, and you need every advantage you can get. I'm your advantage." Eli grabbed Kale's hand. "I won't fight. I'll just navigate. Please, Dad, let me help." Kale wanted to say no. Wanted to send Eli back where it was safe. But looking at his son's determined face, remembering how Eli had saved 3 wolves in a blizzard, he realized Eli was right. They needed him. "You stay behind me at all times," Kale said finally. "If fighting starts, you run and hide. Understood?" "Understood." Sybil gave them directions to where Thornridge's force would likely stage before the assault, a valley 2 miles from the pack house. Then she took the others and headed for Frost Hollow. Kale, Eli, and 5 warriors circled through the storm-lashed forest. "Left here," Eli called, his head tilted. "There's a ravine to the right. Follow the sound of my voice." They followed. Through rain and wind and lightning that turned the world white, Eli navigated with absolute confidence, calling out obstacles, warning of dangers. "How do you do this?" one of the warriors asked. "I can't see my own hand, but you're walking like it's daylight." "I experience the world differently than you," Eli said simply. "Rain creates patterns when it hits things. Wind moves around obstacles. Thunder echoes off rock formations. I just listen." They reached the valley as the storm began to ease. And there, staging for attack, were Thornridge's forces. 50 wolves, all armed, all preparing to assault Frost Hollow. "Goddess," one of the warriors breathed. "We can't fight that many." "We don't have to fight them all," Kale said quietly. "We just have to break their formation, cause enough chaos that they can't execute a coordinated assault. 6 against 50, 5 against 50. Eli stays hidden." Kale looked at his son. "Find somewhere safe. Don't come out until I call you. Promise me." "I promise." Eli hugged him fiercely. "Be careful, Dad. Always." Eli disappeared into the shadows. Kale turned to the 5 warriors with him. "We hit fast. Target the commanders first. Break their communication. Then scatter and regroup." "This is insane." "Probably, but it's all we've got." They attacked. 6 wolves against 50. It should have been suicide, but they had surprise, rage, and the desperate knowledge that their families were at risk. They fought like demons, Kale especially, his damaged wolf giving him everything despite the pain. He took down 3 wolves in the first minute. Then 5. Then lost count as the world became blood and fury and the primal need to protect what was his. Somewhere in the chaos, he heard Thornridge's roar of rage. "It's the Omega. Kill him." Bodies pressed in. Too many. Kale went down under 3 attackers, felt ribs crack, tasted blood. This was it. This was how he died. Then a sound split the air, a howl so loud, so piercing, it froze every wolf in the clearing. Eli stepped from the shadows, his clouded eyes blazing with something that looked almost like light. His voice rang out, amplified somehow, carrying across the valley. "Stop." And impossibly, incredibly, The wolves did. They all turned toward the blind pup who stood alone in the clearing, small and defenseless but radiating a presence that made hardened warriors pause. "This ends now," Eli said, his voice still carrying that impossible resonance. "Alpha Thornridge, you started this by abandoning me in a blizzard. You continued it by trying to steal me back. And now you're attacking innocent wolves, because you can't accept that you were wrong." "Silence, pup," Thornridge snarled. "No, I won't be silent. Because I'm proof that you were wrong. I'm blind, and you said that made me worthless. But I saved 3 wolves in a storm. I navigated a rescue team through zero visibility. I guided these warriors here through a lightning storm." Eli's voice strengthened. "I did all that without sight. So tell me who's really worthless, me or the Alpha, who's so insecure he needs 50 wolves to fight 6. The insult hit like a physical blow. Thornridge's face went purple. "I'm going to kill you myself," he growled, advancing on Eli. Kale struggled to his feet, broken ribs screaming, "Touch him and die. You're in no condition to stop me, Omega." "Then try me." Thornridge lunged at Eli. Kale threw himself between them. The impact drove them both to the ground. Thornridge's claws raked across Kale's chest, opening deep wounds. Pain exploded through Kale's body, but he didn't let go. "Run, Eli," he gasped. "Run." "No." Ellie's voice cracked. "Dad, no." Thornridge raised his claws for a killing blow. Then Rex's roar echoed across the valley. Frost Hollow's full force poured from the trees, 50 wolves, all in combat form, all ready for war. Sybil had reached the pack house in time. They'd mobilized. And now Thornridge was surrounded. "It's over," Rex said, his voice deadly calm. "Stand down, or every one of your wolves dies here." Thornridge looked around. His forces were outnumbered now, trapped between Frost Hollow's main force and the warriors Kale had brought. Slowly he raised his hands. "I yield." "No," Rex said. "You don't get to yield. You kidnapped children. You attacked another pack's territory. Those are capital offenses." Rex shifted to human form, his eyes blazing. "By pack law, I'm within my rights to execute you here." Thornridge's face went white. "You wouldn't. Give me one reason why not." "Because mercy is what separates us from monsters," Eli said quietly. Everyone turned. The small blind pup stood beside his fallen father, his hand on Kale's chest, where blood was seeping through. "He's a monster," Eli continued. "He left me to die. He tried to enslave me. He attacked our home. But if you kill him, you become what he is, someone who solves problems with death." "He tried to kill your father," Rex pointed out. "I know. And I hate him for it. But Dad taught me that we don't become our enemies. We rise above them." Eli's voice cracked. "Please, Alpha Rex, show him the mercy he never showed me. Prove Frost Hollow is better than Nightfang." Rex was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Fine. Thornridge, you're banished. You and your wolves leave our territory and never return. If I see you again, mercy won't be on the table." "You're making a mistake," Thornridge spat. "Maybe. But it's the right mistake to make." Rex nodded to his warriors. "Escort them to the border. If they resist, kill them." As Thornridge was being led away, he passed Eli. For just a moment, something like shame flickered in his eyes. "You should have died in that blizzard," he said quietly. "But I didn't," Eli replied. "And that's going to haunt you forever. Because every day I'm alive is proof you were wrong." Then Thornridge was gone. Eli immediately dropped beside Kale. Dad, stay with me." "I'm here," Kale managed through the pain. "Still here." You're bleeding so much." "I've had worse." "That's a lie." "Stop lying." "Despite everything," Kale smiled. "When did you get so bossy?" "I learned from the best." Eli's hands pressed against Kale's wounds, trying to stop the bleeding. His voice broke. "You can't die. You promised. Forever, remember?" "Forever," Kale agreed, his vision graying. "No takebacks." "No takebacks," Eli whispered. Then Lori was there with medical supplies and Callie, and the world became a blur of pain and treatment and eventually, mercifully, darkness. Chapter 10. The Pack of the Sightless and the Fallen. Kyle woke to sunlight streaming through windows and the sound of soft breathing beside him. He turned his head carefully, because everything hurt, and found Eli curled up in a chair next to the bed, asleep. The kid's face was streaked with dried tears, his small hand wrapped around Kale's. "Hey," Kale rasped. Eli's eyes flew open. "Dad, you're awake." He scrambled onto the bed, careful of the bandages. "You've been asleep for 3 days. Lori said your injuries were really bad but you'd be okay, but I was so scared." "I'm okay," Kale interrupted gently. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." "You better not. We have forever, remember?" "Forever," Kale agreed, pulling him into a careful hug. "No takebacks." They held each other for a long moment, then Eli pulled back, his expression serious. "Dad, something happened while you were unconscious." "What kind of something?" "The good kind." "Come on, Lori said you could get up if you woke up. There's something you need to see." With Eli guiding him and ignoring Lori's protests that he should rest more, Kale made his way to the Pack Commons. What he found there made him stop in his tracks. The Commons was full of wolves. But not just Frost Hollow wolves. There were dozens of strangers, wolves with disabilities, wolves with scars, elderly wolves, wolves who looked like they'd been traveling for days. "What is this?" Kale asked. "Word spread," Rex said, appearing beside them. "About the blind pup who saved 3 wolves in a blizzard. About the Omega who carried him through hell. About the pack that fought off 50 raiders to protect their outcasts." Rex's voice was proud. "These are all refugees, wolves who've been thrown away by their packs for being different. They heard about Frost Hollow and came seeking sanctuary." Kale stared at the crowd. There had to be 40 new wolves at least. "We can't possibly take them all in," he said quietly. "Actually, we can. The Council of Alphas heard about Thornridge's attack. They've granted Frost Hollow expanded territory and resources specifically to create a sanctuary for displaced wolves." Rex smiled. Eli's speech during the battle was recorded by one of the warriors. It's gone viral among the packs. Everyone's talking about the blind pup, who showed more courage than most alphas. "I just said what Dad taught me," Eli protested. "Exactly. And because of that, we're now officially recognized as a sanctuary pack, for wolves no one else wants." Rex looked at Kale seriously. "We're going to need help running it. Building systems for adaptive training, medical care, housing. Someone with experience taking in outcasts and helping them thrive." "You want me to help run the sanctuary?" "I want you to co-lead it. You and Eli, together. Who better than a dying Omega and a blind pup who proved everyone wrong?" Kale looked at the refugees, at their hopeful faces, at the way they were looking at him and Eli with something like reverence. "Yes," he said. "We'll do it." The next 6 months were a whirlwind of building. New housing went up to accommodate the refugees. Training programs were established, adaptive mobility for the blind, modified combat for wolves with physical limitations, skill development for everyone. Eli became the face of the sanctuary, teaching echolocation and spatial awareness to blind wolves. Callie stayed on to treat chronic illnesses. Jasmine created a communication system for deaf wolves. And Kale found himself coordinating it all, matching wolves with resources, solving problems, proving that disabled didn't mean incapable. The sanctuary grew. 50 wolves became 100, then 200. Other packs started referring their outcasts to Frost Hollow instead of banishing them. The Council of Alphas officially recognized the sanctuary as neutral territory, protected by pack law. On Eli's 9th birthday, they held a celebration. Not just for Eli, but for every wolf who'd found a home at the sanctuary. "Look at what you built," Lori said, watching the party with wonder. 2 years ago, you were dying and carrying a blind pup through a blizzard. Now you've created a home for hundreds of wolves who had nowhere else to go. "I didn't do it alone," Kale said. "Eli showed them it was possible. Rex gave us the space. Everyone here contributed. But you started it. By refusing to leave a child to die. By proving that some things are worth fighting for." Kale watched Eli laugh with a group of younger pups, 3 blind, 1 deaf, 2 with mobility issues. All of them playing together like disability was just another characteristic, not a defining limitation. "It was worth it," Kale said quietly. "Every frozen step, every fight, every impossible moment. It was all worth it for this." 3 years later, when Eli was 12, Another refugee arrived at Frost Hollow. A young woman, maybe 19, carrying a pup who couldn't have been more than 3. The pup's eyes were clouded blind, just like Eli had been. "Please," the woman said to the border patrol. "I heard there's a place here. A place that doesn't throw away broken wolves. My pack, they want to take her from me. They say she's defective, that she'll never contribute, but she's my daughter. I can't let them hurt her." The patrol brought them to Kale. The woman stared at him. "You're the Omega, the one who carried the blind pup through the blizzard." "I am. And you're a mother protecting her child. They're going to come for us. My pack. They don't give up easily. Neither do we." Kale crouched down to the pup's level. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Amber," the pup whispered. "Hi, Amber. I'm Kale. I have a son who's blind, just like you. Would you like to meet him?" Amber nodded shyly. Eli appeared moments later, now taller, his echolocation so refined he navigated the complex like someone sighted. He knelt beside Amber. "Hey there, I hear you can't see." "That's okay, neither can I. Want me to show you how I get around?" Amber's face lit up. "Really? You can't see either?" "Nope, but I can do this." Eli clicked his tongue, demonstrating echolocation. "See? The sound bounces back and tells me where things are. I can teach you." "Can I really learn that?" "Absolutely. You can do anything sighted wolves can do, just differently." Eli held out his hand. "Come on, I'll introduce you to the other blind pups. We've got a whole group." As Amber took Eli's hand and let him lead her away, the mother started crying. "Thank you," she managed. "Thank you for not turning us away." "We never turn away wolves who need help," Kale said gently. "That's what we do here. We save the ones everyone else throws away." "Why? Why do you do this?" Kale thought about a blizzard, a terrified pup, an impossible choice. He thought about 8 miles of frozen hell and the decision to save a life when it would have been easier to walk away. "Because someone has to," he said simply. "Because every wolf deserves a chance. Because disability doesn't equal worthlessness." He paused. "And because my son taught me that the things we save end up saving us right back." 5 years later, Eli was 17 tall now, confident, training to be the sanctuary's head navigator. He'd developed techniques for blind wolves that were being adopted by packs across the region. Kale's health had stabilized thanks to Callie's ongoing treatments. His wolf would never be strong, but it was enough. He was alive. He had time, and he'd used that time to build something that mattered. The sanctuary now housed over 500 wolves. They'd established satellite locations in other territories. The Council of Alphas had adopted new laws protecting disabled wolves, laws directly inspired by Eli's story. On a spring afternoon, Kale sat on the porch watching Eli teach a class of young blind pups. His son moved with absolute confidence, demonstrating echolocation, spatial mapping, adaptive techniques. "He's remarkable," Rex said, sitting beside him. "You've raised an extraordinary wolf." "He raised himself, mostly. I just gave him permission to be amazing." "That's not true and you know it. You carried him through a blizzard when you were dying. You fought Alphas for his freedom. You taught him his worth when everyone else said he had none." Rex paused. "You changed the world, Kale. One impossible choice at a time. I just did what needed doing." "No. You did what almost no one else would do. And because of that, 500 wolves have homes. Hundreds more know they have somewhere to go if their packs reject them. You proved that disabled wolves have value." Kale watched Eli laugh at something one of the pups said. "He proved it. I just carried him to where he could shine." "You both proved it." Together, they sat in comfortable silence, watching the sanctuary bustle with life. "Kale?" Rex said eventually. "Yeah? Thank you. For stumbling into my territory half dead with a blind pup on your back, for refusing to give up, for showing Frost Hollow what we could become. Thank you for taking us in when we had nowhere else to go. For defending us. For believing we were worth saving. You were always worth saving. I just recognized it faster than most." That evening, Kyle found Eli on the training grounds, practicing with some of the older students. "Hey, Dad," Eli called without turning around. "I heard you coming. Your footsteps are distinctive." "Of course they are." Kale sat on a nearby bench. "You have a minute?" Eli dismissed his students and joined him. What's up? Just wanted to talk to my son. Is that allowed? Always. Eli sat beside him, his clouded eyes turned toward Cale's voice. Are you okay? Your breathing sounds worried. I'm fine. I was just thinking about everything that's happened. From that blizzard to now. That was a long time ago. 12 years. But I remember it like yesterday. Cale's voice went soft. Finding you in that storm. Thinking I was going to die carrying you. Not caring because you deserved better. You saved my life that day. You saved mine too. Just took a little longer to realize it. Cale paused. You know what I'm proudest of? Not building this sanctuary. Not changing pack law. Not any of the big things. What then? Being your dad. Watching you grow up. Seeing you teach others that blind doesn't mean broken. Cale's throat tightened. You've become everything I hoped you'd be, and so much more. And I'm so damn proud of you, Eli. Eli leaned against him. I'm proud of you too, Dad. For not walking away when it would have been easier. For fighting when you were sick and scared. For showing me that love means carrying someone through their storm. Forever? Forever, Eli confirmed. No takebacks. They sat together as the sun set, painting the sky in colors Eli would never see but could appreciate in his own way. The sanctuary bustled around them, wolves of all abilities working together, thriving together, proving every day that different didn't mean less. Dad? Eli said eventually. Yeah, kid. Thank you for finding me. For not leaving me in that snow. For choosing me when everyone else threw me away. Thank you for letting me. Cale whispered. For trusting me. For being the bravest person I know. I learned from the best. Years passed. The sanctuary continued to grow. Eli eventually took over as co-leader with Cale, their partnership proving that strength came in many forms. Cale lived to see his grandchildren. Eli found a mate who loved his differences. Had pups who looked at their blind father with nothing but admiration. Some of the pups were sighted. Some weren't. It didn't matter. They were all loved. All valued. All taught that disability was just another way of experiencing the world. When Cale was old, really old, his wolf finally peaceful after decades of fragile existence, he sat on that same porch one last time. Eli sat beside him, gray now in his own hair, but still navigating the world with absolute confidence. No regrets? Ellie asked quietly. Not a single one, Cale replied. You. Just that we didn't have more time. We had enough. We had forever, remember? Forever, Ellie echoed. No takebacks. Cale closed his eyes, peaceful. He'd carried a blind pup through a blizzard 12 miles when he was dying. That single impossible choice had changed everything. It had saved 2 lives, built a sanctuary, changed pack law, given hope to thousands of wolves who thought they had none. Some things were worth freezing for. Some things were worth fighting impossible odds. Some things, some people were worth absolutely everything. And as Cale drifted off, his son's hand warm in his, he knew one absolute truth. He'd do it all again. Every frozen step. Every fight. Every impossible moment. Because the blind pup he'd found broken in a blizzard had become his son. His legacy. His proof that love could conquer anything. And that was worth more than all the strength and status and approval in the world. Forever. No takebacks. Dear viewers, as we come to the end of Cale and Eli's journey, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been the person who didn't walk away, who carried someone through their impossible moment even when it cost you everything? Or have you been the one who was carried, the one someone refused to give up on, when the world said you weren't worth it? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience matters. Your choice to stay or to be brave enough to let someone help you, that's worth telling. And if this story reminded you that strength isn't about perfection, but about refusing to leave people behind, please hit that like button. It helps us reach more people who need to hear that different doesn't mean less, and that sometimes the bravest thing we can do is simply refuse to let go. Thank you for being part of this pack. Forever, no takebacks.